Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a dedicated book review for The Crew by Sadir S Samir. Thank you so much to Sadir for sending me a review copy of this book in exchange for an honest review. The Crew by Sadir S Samir is a self-published epic fantasy comedy. It is the first book in the Goddess Saga. So the book is set in the Middle Eastern inspired world called Harra. Warkade, our main protagonist, is a rogue warrior who escaped from the Zealous Warrior Academy. He gets recruited by the ex-spy master of the leader of Akrab in order to bring down the Bone Lord. So the ex-spy master goes around Harra recruiting various members onto his crew, and each one of them is stranger and weirder than the one before. He wants to bring down the leader of Akrab in order to bring some kind of semblance of normalcy to the state. So the demons and human population have been warring for too long in Akrab. Establishing any kind of stability or peace is crucial right now, and so he believes taking down the leader will help the state. So the group is full of fun, banter, and crazy shenanigans. Our motley crew is going to be one of the best when it comes to entertaining you and will have you root for them as you follow along their journey. What starts out as a simple task gets more complicated when the motley crew gets pulled into unexpected situations, some crazy criminal warfare and riots to name a few things, and finally an epic showdown will happen with the Bone Lord soldier and magic users known as dusters. The crew was an absolute blast from beginning to end and carries a humor throughout, and also the comedy elements were perfectly done. I finished it in 2 days, and that has to say something about how much I enjoy the book. I was also looking for something completely different from what I've been reading, and when I saw Bo on Discord and Twitter get excited about this book, I knew I had to read it. And I'm so thankful for having received the arc for the book. It gave me exactly what I wanted out of it. It was a fresh and unique read and will appeal to anyone who's looking for a change from the usual epic fantasies that they read. So, what I loved the most about this book is obviously the unique characters, the magic, and of course the humor. The book was so freaking funny, and I had the best time reading it. So, what makes a book the most enjoyable for me is how much I am engaged with the story, the characters, and how much fun I can have while reading it. I have to say that I haven't laughed this much while reading a fantasy before. The laugh out loud moments, the absolutely ridiculous shenanigans of the crazy crew that sometimes borders on absurd in a good way, the very interesting brand of magic they use, and also some of the coolest creatures slash monsters we get to see are some of the greatest highlights for me in this book. Whether it's the interactions between the crew members or their own different quirks or the drink of choice even, or even the descriptions of food sometimes in here had a comedic undertone to it. The places in this world that we get to see in the book are Middle Eastern inspired, and while there are mentions of other places and their significance and the role in the overall plot, we don't get to see them in this book as much. But I'm hoping we'll be getting to explore them more in the next books. I love the desert setting this book has, and it's completely different from European based fantasy that I've been reading. And having lived in two Arab countries, it was easier to envision all the things related to the Middle Eastern culture described in the book. I love when the setting is familiar and feels like home. When I first saw the book, the first thing that I noticed was the green Kuba on the cover. It's what we call the hemispherical dome or the roof thing on the buildings, and the ones on the mosque and other important structures. Sade thought I was talking about kibba, which is a Middle Eastern dish, and so we kind of had a funny misunderstanding incident before I even read the book. So the story is set in Hara, the sprawling desert as its backdrop. So the region of Hara is divided into 7 city-states that is ruled by different bond lords. All the states are ruled autonomously with their own rules and regulations and laws. The whole point of the 7 state alliances is to stop an invasion from the World Authority. And the Empire of World Authority rules over the region across the mountain range. They are also supported by the overzealous religious monks called the educators. That is a place from where Warkade has come. The educators take in kids at a very young age and do all kinds of horrible experiments to them in order to transform them into the weapon that can be wielded in order to enforce their religious teachings around the world. And Hara's main strength lies in their magic system, which is based off on the drug or powder called the bone dust. The bone dust is the powder bones of the dead old ones, which can be then snorted and trigger various kinds of magical powers inherent to a person. And then you have a little bit of alchemy and a few other magic specific to certain groups that can work without the use of bone dust. So, the region of Hara is inhabited by both the human race and the demon race after the First Contact War. Recently, a lot of unrest has been happening within the community between the two races. It is threatening the peace that was established after the war, and with the Bone Lord planning her attacks and new weaponry to destroy the demon population, Hara is on the cusp of civil war. This is where the Bond Lord's former spy master's role comes into play. Now let's talk about the characters. The crew is a ragtag group of misfits from different backgrounds, and each one is unique and they all have their own quirks that help them really stand out. So each of the characters and their descriptions alone were just as funny as the situations they get caught up in. So Warkid is our main protagonist and he's an ex-educator, and after fleeing the academy he's basically working as a thug for hire. Warkid is very much childlike in his excitement and playfulness and is also always ready with sarcasm or jokes to lighten the mood. He's at times very much reckless, also stays very focused when he have to be. So he kind of is playful one minute and then he gets on very serious mood. He reminded me of Inuyasha in a lot of ways, not just in his looks but also in his personality. We also have Edgar, who is a former spy of Bone Lord, who is looking to assemble his own crew in order to bring down the Bone Lord of Akrab. Edgar is definitely one of the more grounded and serious kind of person in the crew. And I think him being more sane will help rein in the chaos the other characters were bringing into the group. The other characters, one of them is a demon marksman who has retired from her past life. And the other one is a revolutionary demon who believes the demon race should be in charge because they are more superior. Then you have a corpse puppeteer who has magic in his bloodline and can do extraordinary things with the corpses. Every time the author introduced a new character, I could perfectly picture them in my head with all of their weird quirkiness and crazy personality. So out of the crew, only two of them was the most level-headed, adding to a third one towards the end of the book. Everyone else had their own band of crazy, and there were so many scenes that had me laughing out loud with some of the most absurd and outlandish scenarios happening in the book. The dynamics within the group at first was more about a shared job for which they were all recruited for, but then it turns into a shared goal, realizing how high the stakes were for each of them and also for their community's survival. So you get to see them constantly at each other's throats to finally being on the same side and working together and slowly forming a found family dynamic and also great friendships. You get a lot of unique demons, monsters, beasts, and talking animal companions, and so much more. If you love a quirky, the good kind of weird and humorous bunch who gets into all kinds of crazy shenanigans and fun rollicking, you will enjoy this one a lot. The plot is pretty straightforward, and the story moves at a fast pace filled with lots of adventure and action. It feels like a fun adventure movie that was playing in my head, kind of like the Marvel movie where all the cast members were assembling for one big epic job. You know the scene from Thor Ragnarok where Thor says, "We know each other, he's from work." That scene pretty much encapsulates the vibe you get from the book. It's chaotic and hilarious. Now, the story is not all fun and games. You also get themes of racism, otherism, and also quite a bit of political intrigue that gets hinted at in this book. Book is pretty much fast paced with lots of action and adventure as the characters move along their journey. All the combat and fight scenes were well described, making it really easy to picture them. You could get through the book really quickly and you will be entertained throughout. Also, the writing is very accessible and the story itself is very easy to get through, definitely a fast read. There were some moments in the book where our main character uses a lot of the more modern phrases. At first, it did feel a bit odd and it did take me out of the story a little bit. But as the story continued on, it didn't feel as jarring as it first did. That said, however, I enjoyed the easy to read prose and I'm sure you will too. I loved how the book ended with an explosive final scene that felt epic in a lot of ways. I wished it was a tad bit longer with a little bit more coordinated attacks from the crew and them working together, but it still worked really well. I also wanted to see another character we kind of lost early on, but that didn't happen. But I'm hoping they'll be making an appearance in the future books. Overall, if you enjoy something different to your regular or traditional fantasy with fast-paced adventure, action, and characters who are quirky and always up to some kind of fun antics, definitely pick this one up. I gave the book 5 stars for all the freaking fun, and the crew releases today, 29th of November, and make sure to grab this amazing debut from the very promising author Sadir S Samir. I'm eagerly waiting for book 2. What are some of your favorite fantasies that have made you laugh out loud? Have you ever read a fantasy comedy before? If so, let me know in the comments section below. I would love to hear your recommendations. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye bye.